Researchers found that long-term exposure to low levels of atrazine, a weed killer used in Midwestern United States and other agricultural areas, emasculated 3/4 of laboratory frogs and turned 1 in 10 into females. Scientists believe that the pesticide interferes with endocrine hormones such as estrogen and testosterone. Tyrone B. Hayes, a biologist and herpetologist at University of California, Berkeley, found that 10% of the exposed genetic male frogs developed into functional females, who mated with unexposed males and produced viable eggs. The other 90% expressed decreased libido, reduced sperm count, and decreased fertility. 50 years of use, atrazine has proven effective and safe when following the instructions. If atrazine was discontinued, farmers and the state's economy would fall. University of Chicago ecologist Don Kersey.
The impact of pesticides on the bee population is very high. The high levels of pesticides is changing the bees' DNA. The changed DNA is making it so that the bees cannot make it back to their hives. So this means that the bees cannot collect pollen for the fruit that we need to eat. The fruit that we need to eat will soon disappear, and we will not have any fruits, flowers, or anything left for us to eat.
Resistance is when a bacteria becomes resistant to antibiotics. As this resistance increases, there are some dangerous consequences. One of them is that the most common diseases will become much more difficult to treat, such as staph infection and pneumonia. And studies have shown that up to 23,000 people have died due to the increase in resistance. And this could directly impact the cost of research and development of new drugs.
According to Brightsurf.com, if you feed honeybees a natural diet of pollen, it makes them more resistant to pesticides than if you feed them an artificial diet. They also found that pesticide exposure causes changes in expression of genes that are sensitive to diet and nutrition. Another thing found was that diet impacts how long bees can survive when given lethal doses of a pesticide. After doing a test, the results told that the bees that were fed a pollen-based diet exhibited reduced sensitivity to chlorpyrifos compared to the bees that were fed an artificial diet. Lastly, I lack things on how it affects us as humans because of the fact Suter failed to help me when he said
The impact of pesticides on the bee population is very high. The levels of pesticide is changing the bees' DNA. The changed DNA in the bees is making it so that they cannot make it back to their hives. So that the bees cannot make, oh my gosh.
This is when a bacteria becomes resistant to any antibiotics. As this resistance increases, there are quite a few dangerous consequences. One of them is that the most common diseases becomes much more difficult to treat, such as staph infection and pneumonia. And recent studies have shown that up to 23,000 people have died due to resistance. And this will directly, I was so close to putting down.
We'll bring them all for you over
You're
here.
going to start running 2 miles. Then the next day you'll run 1.5 miles. Come back to 2 miles, then 1.5 miles, then 2 miles, and then maybe the next day try to go for 3 miles. And next week you come back, you start running 2.5 miles, and 2 miles, and 2.5 miles, and 2 miles, 2.5, and then maybe up to 3. And week after week you'll get up to your 4 and 5 miles.
According to Brightsurf.com, if you feed honeybees a natural diet of pollen, it makes them more resistant to pesticides than if you feed them an artificial diet. They also found that pesticide exposure causes changes in expression of genes that are
God!